Good evening. Oh, we can do better than that. Good evening. I want to hear some of that District 1 energy. Good evening. Hey, there we go. How are we doing tonight? Everyone doing good? Welcome. Thank you so very much for caring enough about our community to sacrifice your time to be here with us, for us to share about a little bit about the future of District 1, the City of Inglewood, and more specifically, the Big Lot site. My name is Bernard McCrumbie. I am the Development Services Director for the City of Inglewood. I am excited to be here with you tonight. Just a couple of house cleaning items before we begin. First, everyone knows where the restroom is, right? The door right behind the refrigerator. So that's the most important thing. The second most important thing is we have snacks. So we have water, we have cake, we have brownies, we have cookies, Chick-fil-A brownies and Chick-fil-A cookies, and then we have the most important people in the room, and that's you. So thank you again for being here this evening. Just to run down, we have an agenda. We're going to try our very, very best to stay on time and follow that agenda. So I would ask that we refrain from asking any questions until the end. What we've done in an effort to kind of make sure that we can all get home at a reasonable hour tonight is we've provided question cards, and we're going to be using those cards. When you have them, my team will come by and collect them, and we will use those to respond to your questions at the end of the night, at the end of the presentation. If, for whatever reason, we are unable to respond to your question in real time, we will respond to it Monday via email and or phone call. So you will hear from the Planning Division in a response to your questions that may have gone unanswered. I would, let me show you guys what the question cards look like. There. So if you would like one, we can put someone, I think we have someone at the end of each table for you. I would, before we begin, I would like to share that unfortunately Councilmember Gray was unable to be here this evening, but I will tell you this: we've met a number of times and about a myriad of issues as it relates to the City of Inglewood and, more importantly, District 1. And one of her directives to me was that we create an opportunity for the community to provide feedback, to be heard, and to be informed. Knowledge is power. Do we agree? Right? And so we want to take some time. We're going to begin our meeting this evening first by educating you about some of how we got here, the steps that it took to get here, what the long-term vision is for the site, and the immediate proposal that will be going to the Planning Commission in a few weeks, so that you can be informed about what the project entails and have the opportunity to weigh in and ask questions related to its impact on you. Okay? And so before I go any further, I would like to introduce our team. First, we have our project planner, Faith Smith. We have our acting planning manager, Arturo Salazar. We have our representative from Chick-fil-A.
Welcome, everybody. Ooh, excuse me. It's great to see you. Thank you for joining.
And we have the property owner here as well.
Hi, everybody. My name's Alex Kozakov. I look forward to meeting all of you, and thanks for coming today.
So, as we begin, I just want to share a few tidbits, a little bit about what our task is in the Development Services Department. First and foremost, when I have these types of forums, I like to let the members of the community know I was born and raised in Inglewood. I'm raising my daughter and my wife and my family here in Inglewood. And every decision that we make from our department has a direct impact not only on you, but on me and my family as well. And so I recognize the impact of the decisions that we make, the choices that we make, and we're tasked to let the development community know, and this team can attest, that yesterday's price in Inglewood is not today's price. And there is an extreme edict, for lack of a better word, that I am required to uphold, to hold our community accountable, our development community accountable for ensuring that what is built here in Inglewood is not what is at the next level, is next level. And I really want you all to understand that. I care. My team cares. The development community cares, and we're holding them to an extremely high standard. It took us a while to get here. And one thing that I want to make sure that you all understand is that there are a lot of projects that come through our office that don't come to you because we've, at a very early stage, determined that it's not what's best for you. And so when we bring a project forward, we want you to understand and to know that we've done an extraordinary job vetting the project, ensuring its land use compliance, but also taking a look at what those impacts, long-range impacts are for this community, how it would affect us, and is it best, and that, oh, okay, there we go, much better, and that it is best for this community. I want to share a few things with you about just generally how businesses make decisions on what communities they want to come into. Next slide. So we've heard, we hear daily that we want a Whole Foods, we want a Trader Joe's. Well, in order for them to determine their long-term sustainability and viability in a community, they have a baseline metrics, demographic information that they use to determine whether or not their business is going to be successful. And so for Whole Foods, for an example, they look for locations that are high density, 200,000 plus in population, in areas of affluence. They also look at the education levels of the city or the community that they're looking to move into. They look at the income level. and they want to ensure that it's above the national average. And then, of course, there are site constraints of site size, minimum site sizes that they look for that would help them to determine whether or not the square footage would allow for them to build out their store and be successful. So, Whole Foods, 200,000 plus, highly educated people, average income of 83,700. Trader Joe's, very similar demographic footprint, income level again, looking at 10,000 above the national average. The next one. Yard House. Oftentimes you don't see PF Chains or Yard Houses or BJ's in isolation because those types of businesses don't build out their restaurants on single tenant pads. They're generally located in regional centers, malls, large shopping centers, maybe a mixed-use development that has high visibility and high traffic. But they also look at what the income level is on average of the city that they're looking to occupy. Same with Eddie V's. I mean, how many of us go to Eddie V's? Right, go to the one in El Segundo, right? All right, I wouldn't have an Eddie V's here. But we got some work to do. So what do they look for? They look for prime retail or high-end shopping centers with high walkability and high visibility, right? They also look for the income that's greater than 100,000 a year annually for the city that they want to move into. And then, of course, you have the site size. Tender Greens, very similar. Prime retail and commercial spaces with high visibility, high walkability. And Mendocino Farms looks for prime retail in high-end shopping centers with high visibility. And they don't franchise, they own their own stores. And so some of these are businesses that we've heard over time and time again that we covet and want here in the city of Inglewood, right? But the reality is that we're not ready right now as a city to, we don't meet their baseline metrics yet, unfortunately. All right, and so right now, we got work to do, and that's a bit of the sobering reality, but those are facts. So when we talk about what we want to see in our community, how we want it to grow, the things that are important to us, well, it starts, one, we got to get our kids in school, we got to get them back home. For those kids that have gone off to college and have master's degrees and doctorate degrees and their families have moved on, we got to get them back. We have to continue to proactively plan for the city to grow smartly so that over time our community will continue to evolve and we'll be able to entice and attract the type of businesses that we want to see in our community. We're working very, 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 very hard to create a long-range vision through our general plan to help make these things happen. We're working to implement and develop policy to make these things happen. But let me tell you how it starts. It starts with property owners and builders and business owners that are committed to making an investment in this community. And that investment spawns more investment. And it continues to grow. And so Chick-fil-A is the first project of what will be a multi-phased project here on this lot. I'll tell you a little bit about that, and I'm going to let the owner speak a little bit more to it, as well as the Chick-fil-A team. But there's a $5 to $6 million investment in this corner. in the initial investment of what is going to be proposed, what is going to Planning Commission next month. The owner is going to speak to what their marketing strategy had been over the last year and a half or 2 years since the Big Lots closed, and the businesses that they tried to attract and where they fell short. But I want you guys to understand that we want what you want, but the growth and the steps that it takes for us to get there aren't going to happen overnight. And I need you guys to understand that we are extremely intentional in bringing forth developments and, more importantly, good neighbors. People that come into this community, that want to build in this community and care not just about their bottom line, but about you. And we're holding them accountable to that. This project will go before the Planning Commission, just so you guys can understand the steps. Nothing has been decided yet. We have a decision-making body that has to weigh in on this project and determine whether or not what they're proposing is best for us. But what we're doing through that process, through that discretionary process, is we can provide conditions of approval that ensure that we hold them accountable to the things that they say they will do and the things that we're asking them to do that's in the best interest of you. Sorry, dropping the mic. So I hope that I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer. That's not me. I'm very positive. Big smile. But I wanted to frame tonight's discussion so that we can understand very, very practically how we landed with Chick-fil-A. And I also want to say this is not the city settling for anything. This is the city paving the way for an amazing corridor that is being planned right now for our community. Investment breeds more investment. And so we wanted to give them an opportunity to share their vision for this for this community and their vision for where they want to see this Manchester and Crenshaw corridor to go in the future. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Alex to come up.
Well, Bernard, thank you. I guess just to start, we're not developers. We're long-term owners and investors. I've been in the real estate field for almost 25 years. I've got 3 young kids. We live in the San Fernando Valley. We've worked really hard. I didn't come from any money. Came from Texas originally, moved out to LA after college, worked really hard in the real estate business, and as I started saving money, we started investing in real estate. And we were very intentional about the properties that we bought over the years. We want to buy what we feel is great real estate that we can invest in long term, and that's going to better communities. And when we purchased this property originally 3 years ago, we didn't buy it for the intentions of Big Lots. We bought it because we felt it was a really, really great intersection in a community that was growing, and one that we felt that could benefit the community long term with our investment and hopefully our kids 30 or 40 years from now, and we really believe in the market. I've got to say that Bernard and his team at the city have been really, really intentional about what they want to see here and what their belief is at the intersection, which we love, and having a partner with us because, again, we're not developers. We look at every property individually and try to figure out, okay, how do we make this better? How do we make it better for the community? How do we make the site activate so that more people can be involved and feel welcome in coming? And what happened was about 2 years after we bought the property, Big Lots went bankrupt, which was a hit to us, but it also gave us an opportunity to advance our plans and hopefully find a better situation for the corner and something that could create more community for the area. we spent about 15 months looking for different tenants because our original goal was to try to find a grocery store. And we loved Trader Joe's and we loved Whole Foods, and it was something that we had talked to Bernard in the city about early on, and unfortunately we couldn't get them here. And you know, they do have their specifics and densities and demographics and income, and you know, we still felt that the merchants would do really, really well here if they were to come here. But at the end of the day, they're big corporations, and we didn't have the influence to influence them to come here. And that's okay. We continued through the process. We interviewed a number of different merchants, including Burlington, UCLA, Kaiser, and then Chick-fil-A approached us probably about 6 months ago, which we were delighted by because we have known Chick-fil-A for a long time. We've seen what they've done in communities that they have gone into. They're in the community that we live in, and they're wonderful. They're involved with all the youth sports in the community that we live in. They bring a lot of families to the Chick-fil-A location. There's birthday parties there, and they're very active. They're very different from a lot of the other operators that we've had in centers and in tenants. And I can say that they genuinely care, and Carlos can talk a little bit more about that and what they do. And I think one of the other big things about Chick-fil-A is they are very intentional about where they go. They don't just select any site. They're very specific about where they think that they can also activate their locations to be involved with communities, and that's important for us. I think whenever you make large investments, you take a lot of risks. And so it's important when we do that we work with all the stakeholders, which is the community, the people in the city, the tenants, because everybody has to be aligned at the end of the day for it to work, and you want everybody to work together to get the best outcomes. And so we're thrilled about Chick-fil-A potentially coming here. They do a lot of work, not just on, oops, sorry guys, can you hear me? Not just on the building, but also on activating the street and the landscaping. And so I think that they're going to do a really, really good job if the community and everybody else is engaged and on the same page. And in our longer term plans, so what Bernard was talking about was Rally's has about 10 years left on their lease. We've approached them a few times to try and see if we could buy them out to put a new tenant in, because we would love to put some sort of a restaurant cafe, whether it be like a Mendocino, Takaya, one of those types of groups. I think they would go really, really well with Chick-fil-A. And then hopefully at some point later in the future too, to be able to work with the city to do something and activate this piece, and so that we can have almost a block to block type of development that's very walkable for the community, that can provide whether it be fitness here and food, coffee, but we just see the opportunity here. We love this intersection. We wish we could do more with all the corners. We're not developers, so we don't look to build and sell. We look to make an investment and stay here for a long time, and so I hope we'll have at some point the chance to meet all of you, and I'm happy to give all of you my number, my email, to call and ask me any questions as well. And again, big thank you to Bernard and his team, because they've been very intentional and very thoughtful, and we've gone back and forth a number of times, and he has with Chick-fil-A too. And I think, you know, everybody's been, from our side to Bernard's side, has been putting a lot of pressure on Chick-fil-A, and Chick-fil-A has been great. They've been great to the ideas that we've all had and that Bernard's had, and you know, so I know that they want to make a big investment here and a big investment in the community, and they really see the value of being at this location. So thank you everybody for being here and listening to us.
Thank you, Alex. And I just want to make sure that my ears were unclogged when I heard you say that Rally's is going away.
No, 10 years.
10 years. Well, okay, hold on a second. Okay, wait. So Rally's lease expires in 10 years.
They have one more 5-year option after this. We're going to continue to try to see if we can do something earlier, but they will not be there after 10 years.
All right. So
We want to do something different there. We think that the intersection has got a lot more value, and we want to bring a different type of food and health and options.
So, no, go ahead. I was serious. Oh, hold on. Let me.
Yeah.
I was serious, but I was also joking. I wanted to reiterate that rallies will be leaving in soon. Now, soon enough, but not soon enough. But there is a termination to the rally's existence. I understand. I know that we have there is a concern that this corner has become fast food central. I recognize that. We absolutely do, right? And what we're trying to do in this instance is we're continuing to level up. Okay? Now, I understand that your thoughts that you don't maybe see the difference between Chick-fil-A and McDonald's. But there is a difference. There's a big difference, right? And I also, but I do want to say, from our perspective, that Chick-fil-A is a tremendous upgrade. And what you're going to see in this presentation that's going to come before you has been the result of a lot of work. Now, some of you guys came in here with your boxing gloves on. Who walked in with your gloves on? Raise your hand. All right. Now, let me tell you something. Carlos can tell you that through this process, I had my boxing gloves on too, because I know my community.
I can attest that I've had to be in the middle a couple times.
Right, right. And so the understanding and the direction, again, that I have in leading our department and this team here is that we have to establish an expectation that goes above and beyond what has been here in the past. And so to require our developers to raise the level of their outside design, their architectural features and aesthetics, and the landscaping, the site design has been very well thought out. We've talked with our engineers, our traffic engineers. The development of their has been really, really intentional and has been a matter of a lot of back and forth. And that back and forth almost killed the project. But to Chick-fil-A's credit, they were committed to being in this community. And they want to be your neighbor. So I'm going to allow them the opportunity to speak about what they want to do for the city of Inglewood.
Let's step over here. Alex, thank you for that segue and the introduction. Bernard, I'll stand over here next to the screen. Thank you for that context, too. It's even more exciting, really, because we didn't have a lot of that context even in some of the conversations going into it. So, absolutely. My name is Carlos Arias, and I work for Chick-fil-A. I am I work in the development and construction process, so I work with the cities to help projects like this come about and get them into the construction phase. And so thank you all for joining us tonight and being willing to share your time to hear about the project and a little bit about us. I'll try my best not to read the words here, but I'll be talking about the project. We'll be overviewing the project. I'd like to spend some time discussing really some of the stuff that Bernard actually showed today and how the project has transformed over time and a lot of the collaboration with the city, and ultimately share about Chick-fil-A, who we are, why we're a little different, and yeah, that's actually the exciting part for us because it's rare to be able to get to do that. And maybe before we go to the next slide, I just want to preface the next slide that we will show, I think, has the very original site plan, and I just can't give the staff really and Bernard and his team enough credit for helping guide us through getting the vision for the long-term plans that the city has. It honestly took a while to get there, and so it really is exciting to be a part of the city. Of course, we want to be here. We want to be a part of the community. Like Bernard said, he said it perfectly. We're here to be in the community. We want to be a good neighbor. I think at the end, you'll come to see some of the great benefits of us actually being here. But thank you. This first slide shows the original idea that we had as Chick-fil-A. So obviously, right where the existing Big Lots is, and when we first were contemplating being at this site, we designed it in the way that we normally do. And so it's really based on efficiency and circulation and making sure that we have all the right parking stalls. And what you'll notice is the building is actually, was originally proposed to be up along 85th. And so the drive-through wraps around the three sides, the side, the back, and then all the way around, just like a normal, many of our buildings do. And before we go there, it took a lot of collaboration and partnership with the staff to really understand that this is you have major thoroughfare here, but maybe more importantly, it took us a while to align with the city's long-term objective. This is a prominent corner, is really, I think, the way we're looking at it. And I think we're excited now even more so than we initially got in had conversation with the city, because as new developments come in, I think you'll find that the corridor will be activated as very pedestrian friendly. This should be one of the first sort of pioneering projects that allows for others to follow suit in that. And so we're excited to do that. We hope that in the end, this is a project that everybody's proud of, and we know we certainly are, and we're excited to be here. And so we can go to the next slide and show this is where we actually landed. After many conversations and concerns and work with the city, the staff, the engineering team, the planning, thanks Art, we decided that there's so much more benefit really as we align with some of the city's vision to shift the building all the way down to the south of the page, which is along Manchester. We're taking the building, we're putting it up as on top of Manchester as we can, really, so that it's sidewalk, street, sidewalk, and then building, so that we are activating this whole corner, and ideally as things progress out around it. So the buildings down to the south, the drive-through lane is basically tucked behind the street. It won't be as visible. You won't see this a large parking lot. You won't see the drive-through lane, at least for Manchester, right? And so it really just highlights, it really just makes the corner a lot more pronounced by showcasing this shiny new building, right? And so I think the benefit of that is, one, the activation, the revitalization of this area, but then two, it also pushes all of the busyness away from some of the residences, right? So some of the residences across the street on 85th and across the alley. So it really just made sense, and credit to everybody trying to work through that and figuring that out. The drive-through lane is substantially long. We've, as of several years ago, we started designing drive-through lanes with 2 lanes all the way around, and there's a lot of benefit. Happy to answer any questions at the end, but it's really made our design and our operations to be a lot more efficient, to allow cars to get in and off the site a lot faster. Have plenty of parking. Essentially, so if you can't see it, cars essentially would come in from Manchester on the bottom of the page and then go all the way up to the back, and the entrance is on the high side. So you would come around and enter on the top side. So parking here and then parking down on the southeast. So plenty of parking, plenty of stacking, and plenty of really healthy circulation. And then one other thing that we also talked about to really try and encourage just the dining element. Yes, we do have a drive-through, but we're also a sit-down dining establishment. It's actually how we first started. If you haven't heard our story, it's worthwhile checking out. But that's how we really became, how we first started, by providing really, really good food and really good service to our customers. And we never want to let that go. And so we added a large outdoor area for dining. If you haven't been to one of our restaurants, you probably experienced some of our team members that work in the dining room. We call them front of house members, and they're tasked with honestly serving the guests. They're there to serve on the guests, to wipe down tables, pick up trash, refill beverages. They're there to serve, and the expectation would be that that would be happening inside for guests that choose to come and dine with us, as well as outside. And so it really just, before I forget, sorry, the playground is actually something that we incorporated as well. We're big on families. We started with all of our buildings, most if not all of our buildings having playgrounds, because we believe that we want to be a good neighbor, we want to be a part of the community. What better way to do that, to have a place where families can come together? There was a brief moment where we had to pivot and think through that differently when COVID hit, but we are more than happy to have those back. So this also has a playground, which will really be down in this bottom section, kind of near the patio area. So we're excited about what's transpired, and thank you. This is this is a perspective of what the building will look like. The project. This is standing at the intersection, looking down Manchester, and you can see the patio area. It's got the umbrellas out there. It's got the seating. It's got biking, and then it's got a quick and easy connection for a sidewalk up and down the corridor. And so the front doors would essentially be facing the street. So the building itself actually has been enhanced a healthy amount as well. We started with something a lot more bland, and Bernard was pretty quick to say that's just not going to work. And so credit to him to make this something, again, that is a benefit to the community and something that we can all be proud of. And this is just a more zoomed in version, but we added a lot more character with different textures, different materials. We added brick and raised the height of some of that brick and some of that articulation. So we're excited, and that, I think, covers the project overview, and I think there's going to be time for questions and answers on that later. But I'd like to shift we can go to the next one. I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about the secret sauce of just what we do. Yes, we are a popular restaurant, and yes, our food is absolutely delicious, in my opinion, but the real success, it really comes down to the people that own the business, that own the restaurant. And so I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about that. We call them owner-operators, which is different from what some of the general standard terms are, which is franchisee or franchise owner. Those are very intentional words because the expectation is that they are locally run, are locally owned and locally operated. The expectation is that they are very hands-on in the business. They're in the area, they're in the restaurant, honestly, day in and day out. At least that's the expectation. So to be fully engaged in the day-to-day business, in the back of house, in the kitchen, in the front, dealing and serving our guests. And also serving the community. We'll be talking a little bit about that. And maybe to put things in perspective, so generally speaking, our operators do not or cannot have more than a couple of stores. For perspective, the industry has, other competitors in the industry has a very high initial investment or fee to own a business, to own the stores. Some of those numbers are at least $750,000 and well above that. And so with that, you can own as many restaurants as you can. What that means is you might have one in California and then another one in New York and everything in between. So essentially, you can kind of make sense of the fact that those owners or franchisees are not or do not need to be very involved in the business. They're not there. We essentially flip that and do the complete opposite. We make a very low initial investment or upfront cost for a few reasons, but we get a lot of there's a couple of really big benefits from that. Number one, it opens up the pool of potential candidates. For context, as of several years ago, please don't hold me to these numbers, but for every new opportunity that came up as a new store, if a new store came up that needed an operator, there was about 10,000 applicants for that store. You'd have to compete with about 10,000 other people to get this type of opportunity. So you can imagine we're going to come across some very remarkable people. Yes, they're going to be bright, business-savvy individuals, but the stuff that we really care for, this is the hard part of the team that selects them, is all the intangibles, how they're involved in the community, how they're showing care, how, if they've been involved giving back to the community without having a platform like Chick-fil-A. And that's really where the hard work comes in. It's actually a very extensive process. It takes a couple of years at best to go through that. Some of my favorite stories are operators that had a very early job at Chick-fil-A at 16 and just kind of worked their way up and then eventually had the opportunity to run the store. It happens all the time. Some of my favorite stories, some of the best stores, but that's really the benefit of the low cost, upfront cost. They're going to be in the store. We're side tangent a little bit, but my favorite is when people actually say, hey, I'm going to go to Stanley's store, I'm going to go to Jessica's store. What they're not saying is I'm going to go to Chick-fil-A. We're a national brand, but for the regulars, they just don't see it that way, and I hope that would carry on here. We pride ourselves on being a good neighbor, and with the opportunity here, that would certainly be the expectation. This store would probably generate at least 80 new jobs, and our goal is always to attract talent and team members locally. We start here, and that's the expectation. Sometimes it's more based on the demand of the business. Sometimes it's upwards of 100 team members. But the operators are critical. They're really the ones pouring into the team members. They're pouring into the restaurant. They're pouring into the guests. It's their responsibility to make sure that this community is served. And in many cases, the operators provide all kinds of different benefits, from 401k to the team members to scholarship opportunities, mentoring programs, all kinds of things. The operators have a lot of flexibility on how to go about doing that. And so there's just really, really a positive impact that we can have in the community. I get the privilege, I get excited talking about that because we don't oftentimes get the opportunity to have a platform like this to share some of that story. We're going to go through some numbers, and I'm on the corporate side, and so we also wanted to have our locally owned operator come. He's been gracious enough to come and speak with us to share his perspective as being a local operator. He owns and runs the store on La Cienega. You can actually go to the next one. Off of La Cienega, maybe some of you guys have gone there. And he, if I can invite our Stanley Webster to come on up and provide some perspective. And Stanley, thank you for coming up. And maybe so he's going to talk about some of the things he's doing in the community. A quick intro would be great, and maybe just how you ended up at Chick-fil-A and how you became an operator.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, guys. It honestly is a pleasure to be here. I've now been serving, I say this community, for the past 5 years. So we opened a restaurant at La Cienega in Centinela about 5 years ago. So if you guys remember, we actually opened back when COVID was going on, and the dining rooms were closed for the first year or so, and it was interesting. But just a fun fact, about 10 years ago, I was working on a project with Chick-fil-A because I had moved out to LA when I was 20 years old and lived in LA and became really passionate about the city, got connected to the city through an organization called Young Life, and really fell in love with the city, and I told myself, hey, I want to move there one day. I want to open a business one day. And initially, this is 10 years ago, I was begging Chick-fil-A, oh, I want to own a Chick-fil-A in Inglewood. And that was the story, right? Like, I wanted a restaurant here in Inglewood because I felt like we needed to be in a community like this. The closest thing that we could get at that time was La Cienega and Centinela, which you all know is right across the street, right? So it's about 5 feet from Inglewood. But we take it, right? Because the way that the community has received us, and based off of our heat map and where we can see where customers are coming from, we do have a majority of customers coming from this community, and the community knows us as kind of like the Inglewood Chick-fil-A, because that's the community that we're serving. That's the community that majority of my team members come from. So to talk about this project is like really exciting because this has just been something that has been really a long time in the making. So I want to share just a little bit about myself. So Carlos hit on something that I think is really, really important. Typically, there's this perception of like fast food, right? Like a fast food restaurant, or you think of a franchisee or someone that owns, a McDonald's or Burger King or KFC. Like typically, when it comes to franchisees, like these franchisees own multiple locations, right? So you could have one person own 10, 15, 20 McDonald's, and like we all know the reality of that, right? Like we know that those owners are not in all of those restaurants, right? And investing in people typically, and growing and developing people. And when you think about that, you typically think of a franchisee being someone who comes from money, or who is wealthy, or who has hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars to invest in a business. And I just want to share my own personal story because it is so unique and it is so different, and I think that stories like this matter. I actually grew up in the South, so I grew up on the East Coast, and I grew up in Alabama, and my first job was actually Chick-fil-A. So I actually started working at Chick-fil-A when I was 15 years old. You may be asking, why were you working so young? Well, my mom was a single mom. She was working 3 minimum wage jobs to make ends meet, and I had a father who was incarcerated most of my life and not in the picture. So she approached me, she said, hey, I need you to get a job, and I need you to start working and helping provide, right? So that's actually why I started working at Chick-fil-A when I was 15 years old. We were actually at a place where we were at risk of losing our home, and this was when I was 15. So I got the job working at Chick-fil-A, and if I'm being honest, I didn't really want to work at Chick-fil-A. And I say that because where we grew up and growing up somewhat poor, Chick-fil-A wasn't the place that it was never a place that we went to. It wasn't really a place that we could afford to go to. So I just had this I don't know, but I got the job, and that's when I started to see and realize the magic of Chick-fil-A, right? So started working at that restaurant when I was 15. The owner of that franchise location took me under his wing, and he became not just the owner of a location, he became a mentor, right? So this guy, his name's Norman Duell, not only became a mentor, he was also a father figure. And he took little old me, who had, no dad that was present in my life showing me the ropes or teaching me anything about business or education or school or anything. He took me, became a father figure, and really invested in me. And I saw that he was not only doing that with me, he was doing that with people around me. And by the time I was 17 or 18, I'd worked up my ranks in Chick-fil-A. I had become a manager. And fast forward, my mom, when I was a senior in high school, we actually ended up losing our house. There was a season where we went through homelessness. And the only hope that I had at that time was working at Chick-fil-A and the relationships that I had built. And at that time, Norman, who was the owner of the restaurant, he told me, he said, hey, what do you think about owning a Chick-fil-A one day? And I laughed. I said, there's no way I can do that. And mind you, at this time as well, one, I didn't think it was possible because I never saw anyone that looked like me own a Chick-fil-A. So hearing him say, you can own a Chick-fil-A one day, it was almost laughable, right? Because I was like, well, I've never seen a person that has my skin tone own a Chick-fil-A. Is that possible? And he said, absolutely, it's possible, and you can make it happen. And that's when I started to believe, and I saw that he was not only investing in me, he was investing in people around me. And when I was about to be 21 years old, I decided I wanted to take a risk and I wanted to move out of Alabama. Part of that had to do with growing up in the South, growing up in a split home, having a white mom, a black father, and dealing with all of the things that came, as you can imagine, in the South, the racism and all the things. And I just wanted to leave, right? So I left Alabama when I was 20 years old. I moved out to Los Angeles and completely fell in love with just everything that this city had to offer. This was when I was 21 years old. I lived out here for about 5 years and just really worked hard, put my head down. I was a part of the leadership development program that Carlos talked about, which is a development program that Chick-fil-A has to help guys like myself who don't come from anything, who don't have the resources, who don't have the finances, have life-changing opportunities, right? And moved out to Los Angeles, went through that program, and at the age of 25, was selected to own my own Chick-fil-A franchise, which was crazy, right? Like, I couldn't believe that I had actually accomplished that. And my first Chick-fil-A franchise that I owned was in Philadelphia. I operated that restaurant for about 6 years. And I had left LA, not because I necessarily wanted to leave LA, but at that time, we weren't opening restaurants in LA. As you can imagine, it's not as easy as just plopping a restaurant down. These processes take anywhere from 3 to 5 to 6 to 7 years, right? So there were no opportunities out here, and I wanted to be in an urban community because that's what I'm passionate about, and those are the type of communities that, one, I'm familiar with, I'm from, I've experienced, and just being able to be in a community to give back, right? So I moved to Philadelphia, which was a very urban city. I was downtown, and I did that, and I said, hey, as soon as we get the opportunity to get a restaurant open in Inglewood or close to Inglewood, I want to leave. And that's what I did. So I moved back to Los Angeles back in 2020. We opened the restaurant in 2021. And I just want to share a little bit of the things that we do, and I say we, my restaurant specifically, in the community. And I want to share this because we're talking about, what this could look like to potentially have this restaurant. And I want to walk you through just kind of some of those things, right? So at my restaurant specifically, right, this is just one Chick-fil-A location. I'm not speaking on behalf of all Chick-fil-A's. Although all Chick-fil-A franchise owners that I know, they do this same level of impact, if not more, right? So just my restaurant alone, this past year, I was looking at the data from last year, we were able to serve over 6,900 meals, right? And we all know that in Los Angeles specifically, food insecurity is a thing, right? We can look at the data. We know that, out of 4 families, one of those families is more than likely struggling with food insecurity. And recognizing that and knowing that there's such a large unhoused population here in Los Angeles, the first thing that I thought was like, well, what can we do to partner with the organization to give back? So we partnered with the organization called Shared Table. And basically what we're doing is we're taking any surplus food we have or extra food that we have, and we're donating it to organizations, churches, organizations in the city, like right here in South Central, that is able to then take the foods and then take the food out and provide meals for people who are basically struggling with food insecurity. So we partner with Holy Pilgrim Church, and we also partner with Bread of Life Church. Those are the 2 organizations that we're actually donating food to, and they're then taking that food out into the community. Education and youth. That is a huge thing for me, particularly like growing up in the South and being a first-generation college grad, moved back out here to California, was able to go to grad school at Pepperdine, thanks to Chick-fil-A and being a franchisee and being able to afford to go to Pepperdine to go to grad school, and currently at USC, Fight On, Trojans, getting my doctorate actually. I'll finish my dissertation this year. But I say that to say I was someone who grew up being told you're never going to be enough, you're going to be like your dad, you're going to be in jail, you're going to be in the streets, you're going to be doing drugs and all of the things, right? And I believed that for a period of time. And I never thought I was smart, never thought I was good enough to have anything, and got to a place where I wanted to be able to go back and actually make a difference and realize, hey, I can do it. I want to help other people be able to do it as well. So when we talk about education and youth, it's huge. Like, we partner with a lot of different schools here in the community. Ochi High School, Luskin High School, Casey Price High School, Inglewood High School. I could keep naming schools that we partner with. And we're not just partnering with these schools. I'm not talking about, hey, we're going to the school and giving them 25 sandwiches and saying, hey, that's a partnership. Like, we're actually in these schools, right? So I was the first Chick-fil-A owner in the Los Angeles market to pioneer a program called After School All-Stars. Not sure if any of you guys have heard of that, but it's actually started back when Governor Schwarzenegger was in office. And the whole premise of it was, hey, we need to go into these schools that are not getting, the right resources to really be able to pour into these students and invest in these students, and we need to help. So they built a workforce readiness program. And what I did is I partnered with them as a local franchisee, and we partnered with these schools, and each school, and this is just two of the schools, we're just talking about two of the schools that we worked with. Each school we were able to give them $25,000 a piece, and what we did is we basically provided them with a workforce readiness after-school program where we were going in, and I was going in to these schools and speaking to these students in a classroom setting, and we were teaching them financial literacy, resume building, what's the difference between debit and credit. And I know a lot of these things sound silly, but unfortunately, these are a lot of things that these students aren't being taught. Even to this day in my restaurant, I'm teaching my employees how to write emails. Right, when I'm emailing back and forth, I'm pulling people in my office and I'm going, hey, come here. That's not how you write an email, right? So it's something that I'm passionate about because I know how important it is to have someone in your life that actually cares about you and is invested in your growth and development. And I know the importance of mentorship, right? So those are just some of the things we do in the community. You see 100 plus backpacks. That's something we just did recently. We had a community event at the corner, closed our parking lot, brought out the bounce house, face painting, DJs, balloons, all the things that kids like. We gave out actually close to 200 backpacks. All of the backpacks were full with school supplies for the students. Everybody got a free coupon for a Chick-fil-A meal. I'm also doing Chick-fil-A Leader Academy this year. This year, the two schools, or this semester, the two schools are Inglewood and Casey Price School. I actually am going to be speaking to those students in a couple of weeks as a part of the program that we do. So I just wanted to highlight that because, this isn't just a Chick-fil-A coming that's going to be here on the corner. This is local ownership, getting involved in the community, building relationships with the community, and truly investing in its people. Our vision at my restaurant is to make a difference in the lives of team members, the people that work for me, our guests, which are the customers that we serve day-to-day basis, in the community. And everybody that works in my restaurant knows that, and they know that that's something I'm super passionate about. So veterans and community care. So you guys have all heard of US Vets Inglewood. So I got connected with them through a gentleman named Dr. Dunn, and he has this foundation called the Dunn Foundation, and I was just blown away by the fact that I was having a conversation with him, and we were talking about veterans being unhoused and needing transitional support, and I just couldn't make sense of, wait, veterans unhoused, this isn't making sense to me. How does this happen? And the first thing that I thought was how can we help? So we created that partnership. Every year we go down to US Vets Inglewood and we throw this amazing event, DJ, the coffee trucks, all the things. And we serve Chick-fil-A, but it's not just us serving Chick-fil-A. It's honestly us honoring those veterans and all that they've done and all that they've been through. And it's such a beautiful event. And we don't just hand them Chick-fil-A. We sit them down at nice decorated tables and we walk the Chick-fil-A out on trays, and these are just small things that I want to highlight, and because I think they're things that are important. I could bet my bottom dollar that most quick service fast food restaurants are not typically engaged in their community like that, and it's because I see it, right? I see what people do. So back to that Chick-fil-A franchise model, it is unique, it is different, but I think it's a model that not only gives back to the people that are working at the restaurant, it gives back to the community, and honestly, could be an opportunity to help change so many lives, right? So I just wanted to share some of those things. These are just some of the organizations we partner with. Oh, so the Pump Foundation, just real quick, that's another organization. It's It's an organization done by this lady named Leah Pump, and the purpose of that organization is basically to help young, black and brown girls get into college, right? Like a lot of times, like you have people that are like, hey, like I want to go to college, but I don't know how to do that. So that's another organization we work with. We've worked with South LA Young Life, Musicians in Action, Faithful Central Church. That's a partnership that they do. They have a Musicians in Action event every year. We kind of sponsor that for the kids, come in, feed the kids. I literally could go on all day about the impact that we're making in the community. And for me as a local business owner, it's not something that I do because I feel like I have to do it, because I know that I don't have to do it. I feel like it's the right thing to do because I know where I come from, and I know that, I know all that, has been instilled in me, and I feel an obligation to give back in some capacity. And, I do want to speak on behalf of most Chick-fil-A franchisees and owners in general. A lot of us actually have very similar stories. And one thing I can say is we have a mission as an organization to be the world's most caring company. And we're literally trying to do that. And I know that I'm personally trying to do that each day that I step in my restaurant. So, definitely active ownership. We're definitely in the restaurants. If you come to the restaurant, you've probably seen me. If you haven't seen me, I'm probably in the office, always around. We're working with our team. We're loving on our team. And the last thing that I want to say is there's also this perception that we don't want a minimum wage job and, I don't think people realize how well Chick-fil-A's in this market do. I have directors and leaders in my restaurant that are making right at 6 figures with benefits. And I don't think that people typically think about that when they think about Chick-fil-A. I think people are just thinking about, minimum wage, right? So I do want to highlight that. It is different, and it is the opportunity to give back and to make a difference. And I am just really appreciative that you guys have allowed me the opportunity to just share a little bit about my story and myself. And thank you guys so much.
That was great. Stanley, thank you so much. Again, he does not need to do this, but he was so gracious enough to come, and he cares about this community and feels like he's a part of it. And so thank you for doing that, which is really consistent with some of the stuff that Bernard talked about. So loved how you tied that in. Thank you.
One more thing. I just want to brag about this because as an organization, we don't talk about it a lot, but our restaurant down the street is a black-owned business, and we're literally the busiest Chick-fil-A in this LA market. And I'm so proud of that. And that's just something that I truly wear on my sleeve, and it's been a long time coming. But we're able to be that because of you guys, because you all show up. Our people show up. You guys show up for us, and we're able to do that because of my team. So I want to give a big shout out to my team for everything that they do on a day-to-day basis, but also you guys for supporting us. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate everything you're doing for the community, and thank you, Carlos, for the wonderful presentation. As we move into the next phase, I ask that if we have questions, if you could please pass them down to your left, and my team will come by and pick them up. We do want to take some time to sift through the questions. We want to make sure so that we can remain organized. We'll select some questions and respond to them and have the appropriate individual available to answer. They should be on this end.
Where do we write our questions?
If you have a question and you need a question card, if you could please raise your hand so that we can hand that back to, we can hand those out.
Any other hands for
Or behind you? Yeah, absolutely. While we're collecting questions, please, shameless plug, grab some cake and cookies and brownies. I don't want to take them home. Oh, man.
I noticed a couple people leaving. Should we pass out some cards now and just try and capture them, or is that just?
Oh, yeah, we could maybe.
Do you want to? Okay. And while we wait for those question cards, I did notice a few people maybe making their way out, and in Chick-fil-A fashion, we care about food. We like our food, and honestly, we only have 3 big opportunities a day to eat it, so we might as well make it good. We are here. Before you leave, if you're interested, maybe Travis, you can help me pass out. We'd love for you to be our guest. Be our guest at one of our stores. We have a free treat for you if you guys would like one. Maybe Travis, you can pass them and work away this way, and Stanley can get the other one. So, thank you. Sure. Yeah. However you want to pass them out.
Are those questions or cards? Okay, if we have some questions, can we bring them up so that we can begin responding?
Let's go to an Inglewood. Yeah.
All right. Here, Faith, sit through these questions and just kind of look at, I'll answer this one, but let's look through just what they.
You got one to start with.
Okay.
Oh, you got more that got collected.
Project questions first.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll just start to get them, and then Travis and I answer them. You want to answer the first one?
Question cards. Anybody have your?
Sure.
All right, we are going to begin the question and answer section of the presentation. Thank you so much for your patience and your attentiveness this evening. We're almost done. I would like to also say once again, this item will be before the Planning Commission on March 17th, Wednesday evening, March 17th at 7 p.m. At that point, the decision will be made as to what happens with the site. But we're going to start with our first question.
On that date that you guys have the meeting, the decision will be made on that date?
Yes, the Planning Commission will render a decision. Yes. Oh, so the March 17th is the Planning Commission meeting. We're having a special Planning Commission meeting, 7 p.m., 9th floor at City Hall. Yeah. So question 1, what is the expected completion date? And the second part to that question is what will be the urban impact on traffic at the entry and the exit? So you want to answer one of the two?
So the question about the completion date, I think just big picture would be a couple of years. We're still in the, we still need to issue the actual construction drawings. That'll take a few months, and then we have to go through the city permitting process. That'll take another handful of months, and then we go into construction, which is about 7-ish, maybe 8 months. So round up to 2 to 3 years. We'd love to go as fast as possible, so we'll work with the city to ensure that.
So in other words, they need to get an approval first. And so the second part to that question is the impact on on traffic at the entry. So the way that the project was designed and the location of the drive-through. Well, first and foremost, I have to give Chick-fil-A a little bit of credit. So when I had on my boxing gloves and Carlos and I were going back, we were sparring. You know, he was adamant about parking, and in a time where the state has required all cities to no longer require parking for residential and commercial uses, Chick-fil-A fought me to provide more parking than what they needed, right? And so you know, understanding their customer base and how busy they are on a day-to-day basis, their site required about 30 parking spaces per the code. They're providing 80. So they expanded their leasehold area with the ownership to allow them the opportunity to create more parking in order to satisfy the design that we were asking of them to provide to help create a walkable community that falls in line with what our intentions are with our general plan update for this corridor. So I have to preface my response with that. And so the way that this project has been designed, it's been designed to minimize an impact of vehicular traffic on Manchester, Crenshaw, and more importantly, 85th Street, right? And so what we've done is we're looking to kind of draw the majority of the traffic in off of Manchester, and, you know, through the use of any sort of mitigations, cones, and kind of some of their operation tactics to help control traffic flow on the site, we're working hard to make sure that it's circulating away from 85th Street out to Crenshaw and to Manchester safely. And so we're working with our traffic engineers. We will make sure that through the conditions of approval that and the site plan review process, that we're continuing to look to mitigate any local traffic impacts that may arise through the planning process of this. I hope that answered the question. What kind of green space can you provide? Example, Point Runway. Is that the one in El Segundo? Point Runway. What's Point Runway?
Yeah, runways in
Oh, Playa Vista. Okay, the Point is, yeah. The Point is nice. I was there this weekend. My daughter was running around on the grass. So you know, there is, outside of the landscaping that Carlos can speak to, we sparred on the landscaping too, and also had a conversation with Alex about enhancing the corner. So while Chick-fil-A doesn't sit directly on the corner of Manchester and Crenshaw, there is an expectation that corner be enhanced because it is a major intersection in our city, and it looks horrible right now, and we need it to look amazing. And so the development team is going to work hard to you know, enhance the landscaping with signage and planting material that continues to make it look inviting and improves the look and feel and walkability of Manchester. There won't be any green space in particular within this Chick-fil-A development. There will be a children's play area, and so maybe they'll have some green turf on the inside for the kiddies to play on. But specifically, there won't be any outdoor green space that outside of the landscaping associated with the outdoor patio area. Was that a good answer?
Yeah, spot on.
Okay. What commitment to the community is planned? How will it be measured? What is the guarantee? Well, I was inspired to hear Stanley's commitment to the community, and the guarantee that he's going to honor his commitment is your ability to go to his store. If he doesn't do what he says he's going to do, then guess what we don't do? Right? That's how you hold him accountable. Now, I will say this. From from our vantage point, and this is from our vantage point, the things that he does from a philanthropic perspective are not things that we can tie him to conditionally through our process, right? That doesn't have anything to do with land use. But I do believe, and this was recorded tonight, so that Stanley is a man of his word. Oh, okay.
That's yeah, thank you. So I can say a couple of things to clarify. I think objectively, one of the things from a commitment standpoint, objectively that will happen is there's $25,000, it's either $20,000 or $25,000 that will automatically go to the local food bank. That's no matter how well the business does, that's going to happen. The reason we can't say Stanley's going to definitely get this store is because we're actually not activated that project. We haven't said it's ready to go. We still have a long journey to go through the permitting process. A lot can happen in a couple of years. We want Stanley to get the store. We hope he applies for it, and we expect him to do the same thing. But there's no guarantee that he will be the one that runs the store. But it's one thing for me to be up here in front of all of you as someone that is not from the area. I live in San Diego. And so it's different for me to come here on the corporate side and say, look at all the great things we do. This is why we have Stanley come up, just to say, hey, this is the expectation for all of the operators. That's why we do it, and this is exactly why we're different. So I just want to clarify that. It's in partnership that we do come together in the overall Los Angeles area that you can start to see. We didn't actually show that or get held up on that screen, but it starts to amount to a lot of meals, a lot of big contributions, and a lot of big impact when we come together store after store after store and get these remarkable people to come and serve the community. So, thank you.
And just so you all know, as I'm filtering through some of these questions, some of them are kind of repeat questions, and so I'm just making sure that I answer them all as best as possible. So one question is, where is the project, added project, pedestrian friendly with the drive-through? So it becomes pedestrian friendly by moving the building up to the sidewalk, right? And so what we're doing is we're looking to encourage walkability. We want people to get out of their cars and walk down 5th Avenue, 6th Avenue, 7th Avenue, down Manchester and to Chick-fil-A. And so we oriented the cars to the back of the building to allow for a more pedestrian-friendly environment from the street. Okay. And what does the community or areas look like around other Chick-fil-A's? You want to respond to that?
Sure. All over. We have Chick-fil-A's all over California. I think there's high 2s, if not 300s. But this is a growth market. We want to be in LA. There's a need in LA. There's a strong demand for it still. We want to be here. Stanley said it perfectly. We wanted to be here for a while. It just hasn't worked out. There was questions about parking discussions. It's in our interest to go and make sure that the site is safe, circulates well, and a place where people want to come and spend time. It doesn't become that way with small sites with hecticness around it, and so we just kind of need more room. And there's a fine line before it just does not become viable for us. But that's why we had a spar with Bernard, like, hey, we want more parking. We want to create a place that is safe for our customers to easily find parking, to easily find the drive-through lane, and it isn't in conflict. And so locations vary drastically from criteria like we saw on the board where we're near Whole Foods in affluent areas to the complete opposite, urban to middle of nowhere, Midwest, you name it, small markets, In the end, we want to be accessible to the greater population. We don't necessarily get hung up on similar types of criteria that you saw from some of the others. We want to be able to serve communities is really what it comes down to.
So the next questions deal with some of the technical lease terms with rallies and some questions owner-related.
Hey guys, so on the rallies, they have 10 years of total term left. They're into their second to the last 5-year option. So when this 5 years is up, they'll have one more 5-year option. There's no guarantee that they're gonna extend. We're assuming they will, because I think they do pretty good business there. We've approached them a few times to try to buy them out because we think that there can be a better synergy on this block by adding something else. I know Bernard had mentioned Mendocino. I think something like that is a restaurant and has a healthy sandwich cafe type of component with 3 different types of meals a day would be great. I don't know if they'll let us buy them out. They haven't so far. So at the very long end of it, it could be 10 years, but we will not renew them after that. But they do have one 5-year option left, which is on them. We can't get them out unless Bernard can somehow. He's a pretty good boxer. But they do technically have at least one more 5-year option. We will not renew them after that. We think there's a lot better uses for that space. And then longer term and preliminarily, we're speaking with Bernard to figure out is there a way we can activate this piece too, so that we can have kind of the whole block circling around, all being new, more inviting, walkable food, and create a really good environment for the community here with multiple things to do. And was there another question? So everybody put a lot of pressure on Bernard to get rallies out.
Can you write it down? And so, I do think that it's also important, and I know we touched briefly with Alex, that that the Chick-fil-A is, if approved, will be the first phase of a 3-phased development. And we have begun very, 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 very preliminary conversations with the property owner, as well as our city administration staff, to discuss the possibility of working on a joint venture project that would include potentially a residential development, along with the redevelopment of a new ICOP here in District 1. And so that is one of the things that we're working through with our admin, with the council member, and the powers that be, and ownership. So we're at the very early stages of that. But again, that investment continues to be spawned by the multi-million-dollar investment that Chick-fil-A is looking to make in our community. And generally, these types of businesses, or a lot of the businesses that commercial enterprises don't build their own stores. They generally are developed by a land developer, and they come in and lease out and build to suit. They just do a tenant improvement and build their stores out into the way that they would like for them to. So for them to tear down a blighted building and build something new, sparkly and new, is a tremendous investment, and doesn't happen often in other areas. There was a question that asked, which baseline metrics does our community not meet for the businesses you shared? So no. You want to go back to that slide? So there are a number. So as you all know, we're in the process of updating our general plan, and we, through that process, we've conducted an existing conditions report that looked at where the city of Inglewood is. Oh, by the way, if you want to look up this information, go to our website, www.nextlevelinglewood.com. www.nextlevelinglewood.com. And so, right now, based on, and this was from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So the median income for the city of Inglewood information came from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and right now our median household income is $64,000 a year. This is for the city, on average. The average, not in Morningside Park, right, and maybe not in your house. Right, not in my house. I hear you guys saying that, but we're talking citywide, right? And so what's happening is that this was 2024, so relatively recent. And so what's happening is that when these businesses look. If we go back a slide, they're looking at some of this baseline information, right? They're looking at exceeding the national average, right? Or they're looking at LA County or the city's area median income. And right now, as a city, we're not there yet. Right. So in some instances we don't have the population, but so we have work to do now. Now we're growing by leaps and bounds, and unfortunately this is a sobering reality of the work that we have to do as a community to be able to get the type of businesses that we covet, right? And so we have to again continue to encourage our kids that have moved away to come back, right? We have to, I mean, we got to buy houses. We got to create opportunities for sale housing. So there are a lot of other policy things that we can do as a city to help encourage that and to help this number rise. But it also means that I have work to do. My team has work to do. We have to plan smartly and create opportunities to encourage businesses like Chick-fil-A and others that want to come in and see the value in you and want to invest in this community. And so we have to do a better job selling our city, but the numbers don't lie. And I wanted to make sure that from a standpoint of education, we understand how this stuff happens, right? And so we're continuing to work to encourage, to attract, and we know that if Eddie V's was here, it would be packed every night, right? But that doesn't. But our understanding of our community doesn't necessarily match the long-term business and economic principles that these big businesses use to determine how successful businesses are going to be. And that's what they use. That's why they've been as successful, and that's why they remain in business. Yes. Oh, well, no, I want to make sure that we stay. Can you write it down for me? I want to make sure we stay on track. Will Manchester become a restaurant row? We'd love to see it. Go to www.nextlevelinglewood.com and make your voice heard, so that as we're going through our planning process, we can make sure that those comments are heard. Noted. Can we be given an agenda prior to the meeting? This can give more input speaking to our neighbors. Okay. Noted. Good question. So with With Inglewood's aging population and limited medical care facilities, why not add a facility to care for our residents? I believe we tried.
We did. We met with and spoke with, oh, sorry.
We had met with and spoke with CLA and Kaiser, and unfortunately, we were a little late. They had already found 2 other locations they were in pretty deep lease negotiations with when Big Lots vacated. They were 2 calls that we made pretty early on, and they'd already committed to other locations. And there were not other medical operators that we felt were right for the neighborhood. There was some smaller urgent care type of facilities. There were some groups like Goodwill that we just didn't think that would be the right fit for this and activate the corner. But our first 2 that we thought would be really great for the area would have been Kaiser and UCLA. Unfortunately, maybe Bernard, you know the other locations they committed to, but they had committed to them before we could get in negotiations with them.
Yes, Kaiser is in negotiations. I'm not at liberty right now to say where, but they are somewhere in the city. Yeah. So as Carlos mentioned, the hope is that Stanley is selected as the owner, but it has not been selected yet. It has to go through the normal vetting process, Chick-fil-A's vetting process.
For a while, yes.
Right. Does Chick-fil-A Corporation have social responsibilities, initiatives, and KPI?
Absolutely. In fact, that's also readily available on our website. Absolutely, a lot of good work happening there as well.
How does it filter down to the owner, to the vendor, to the person, the owner person that's doing the work there in the community?
So in the end, sure. In the end, it's a locally ran business, and it will be absolutely up to the operator. Well, we didn't talk about one of the slides very much. Could you go to second to last slide, I believe, maybe to answer that question specifically head on is, okay, yep, perfect, thank you. When we do get to do Chick-fil-A and we get to partner up on the corporate side, along with our operators that run the actual business, these are some of the numbers. So this is general LA, greater LA area. You can see they're just big numbers, right? You have 5.7 million in some scholarships for the local team members, just like Stanley talked about. There's 1.2 million in food donations. Again, this is just last year. And so there's a lot more. We can talk about that. We've already posted some, about some of these the great work that operators are doing. But the corporate responsibility and some of those initiatives are certainly on the website. Would absolutely encourage you to check it out. And at the end of the day, the expectation is that we're all aligned from the corporate side all the way to the operator side. Again, this is one of the unique, beautiful things that Chick-fil-A, or why Chick-fil-A is different, is we have a great partnership. And when we have a great partnership, in our goals is to be partnered up with the community as well, even with the city when they have boxing gloves on.
Will Chick-fil-A take up the entire lot, or only a portion of it? It was hard to tell on the second map. Can we go to the site plan? You wanna talk through that a little bit?
It will not be the entire parcel. The parcel keeps going, so this gets cut off right as you start to park along the front of this building. This is the Rallies, and then there's a corner parking lot area here. So everything in color is really the areas that we're touching and improving.
Where's the Big Lots?
Right here. Yep, thank you. So this is the old site plan, right? But you can see we were going to go basically right where they went.
Can you put the other one back up for a second?
Isn't that a dangerous intersection to have cars coming in and out of for a drive-through right there on
super dangerous. It's not. Is that Crenshaw right there?
So the location of the drive-through is on the site. So it's developed and designed to be on the back end of behind the Chick-fil-A. So Chick-fil-A sits on Manchester. So Manchester, imagine Manchester right here. Chick-fil-A is on the sidewalk. So there's almost a zero lot line, and the entrance to the drive-through is almost 200 feet off of Manchester at the back of the site, directly adjacent to 85th Street. It is not on Crenshaw at all, right? So Raleigh sits on Crenshaw, and so the site is designed. I guess the perfect way to tell you is that when you walk out of here tonight, and you look at the big lots right across the way, that's the location of the drive-through. And when you drove in or when you exit to Manchester tonight, both the ingress and egress on both sides of Manchester is going to be the primary vehicular ingress and egress, and the Chick-fil-A will sit between that on Manchester, if that makes any sense. Okay. So there is an entrance that is there's an existing ingress and egress on 85th currently. That's not going to change. That's on the west side. So between the Big Lots and Rallies, there's an existing driveway that currently exists, right? That driveway is not going anywhere. That driveway is going to remain. Okay, and so in the event, now one thing that I have to say, and I don't think that this was brought up this evening, but when you go to a Chick-fil-A, and I know Carlos touched on this a little bit, but when you go to a Chick-fil-A, they have a double drive-through, and generally those double drive-throughs queue about 20 cars, right? Our code standard for a minimum drive-through queue is 8 cars. This queue is providing a maximum of 35 cars on the property. And this was done to ensure that there's very minimal spill out, like when you go to In-N-Out. How many of you guys went to In-N-Out on Century? Right? And you try to go in a Century and the line comes all the way out and goes all the way up. Right? We've been there, right? So the way that this is designed is to ensure that doesn't happen, right? And so generally speaking, they will probably never have 35 cars sitting in their drive-through at any given time, right? 20 at the most. You correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, the hope would be that this 35, right? That would be great.
Longest backup scenarios
that
we observe in many of our stores, that's it. And so we can accommodate more than that.
So what they've done and what we've asked them to do at every step of the way is to exceed the brand standard. That's why we've been boxing, because we can't have what everybody else has. We need it to be what? Better, and better yet, next level. All right, so now I'm gonna say it again. We need it to be next what? Level. We need it to be next what? Level, right? What you say? So really quick.
And I think it's
That is one of the biggest things is traffic impact, and so they worked really hard to minimize that with the drive-through, and we ended up, as the owners, giving up this additional parking because we also wanted to be a part of the community. So we wanted people to be able to not just use the drive-through, but come in and park, take their kids into the playground, have sporting, after a sporting event, be able to come here, eat, and really bring in the community, because originally this is a big site for a Chick-fil-A. They usually only need something like this, but we wanted to make it work for everybody. We wanted the drive-through to work, and we wanted them to be able to really engage in the community and eat in this restaurant and not just use the drive-through. So that's why we extended the parking this way and gave them 3 extra lots to be able to use the restaurant too and make sure that people are using the restaurant.
That is right.
No, that's the 3 basically parking spots over, yeah. So, again, what we're really hoping is that everybody doesn't just use the drive-through. They come here and eat, they bring their friends here, they come here with their families. You know, the operator has, just not on Sunday, the operator has events. And then we added all the greenery in too, because again, we think that the green space, as you call it, is important, right? And we really want to activate this, and I'd love to make a Manchester food row. That would be good. That'd be good, yeah.
And I'm and the last thing that I'll touch on that point is that to Alex's point and Carlos, this was a true collaboration. They worked really hard to make this work, and the reason why is because I was throwing uppercuts and jabs, right? And so they had to collaborate to make this work because of what I understand this community needs, and I understand what this community expects. And it is our goal at the end of the day for everything that comes through the Development Services Department that the community is proud of it. Now, we may not always necessarily agree on how things happen, but we want to ensure that we give you an opportunity to hear, to be informed, and to contribute to the development and the continued development and growth of this city of Inglewood. And so with that, I think we're going to adjourn. I have everyone's questions. If we did not respond to your question tonight, we have your emails. You will get a phone call or an email from my team next week. And I appreciate everyone. I'll be up here if you have a few questions for me. My team, Arturo, Faith, Carlos, Alex will be here if you have any other questions. Thank you so much for being here this evening.